But I actually said that in the very first series as well, and then Life won. So I'm a big Zest fan, but Life did win in the end.
Life always wins in the end, doesn't it?
It does. It is pretty unstoppable.
All right, Derelict Watcher, Tournament Edition. These guys are up early, squirrely in the morning in New York City. Got up, went on over to the venue, and now they're ready to play some StarCraft 2. Now, what do you think of this aspect of obviously you're kind of splitting your days as far as the group stages that started yesterday for these guys. You know, you could say they had these nice warm-up games, they had these very important matches, but now they have to have a whole night to think about this match that they play right now from each perspective. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, it's an interesting thing. I mean, you can definitely, especially for these two players who both obviously ran into each other in the very first match of the group, you know, they're probably reevaluating those games exactly how they went. You know, and I think this actually favors Zest, to be honest, because the way that first series went, pretty much what happened is Life found holes in Zest. Zest plays like a very standard, just staple opening, and Life found moments of time where he was weak and hit these really fast timing attacks to take him out, and that's pretty much both the games Life won was because of the exact same timing attack right before Zest could have you know, enough forces. So Zest is a guy who can actually really learn from those games a lot. He can go back and look at them and say, okay, think how can I adjust my build to make sure I'm not quite as vulnerable to that exact attack. On the other hand, Life, he has a choice to make. Should he play the same style that won him that first series? Or should he think, you know what, Zest by now, he's had time to think about it. It's not just between game 1 and 2, we've got like 2 minutes to think about it. He's got a whole night to think about it. Is there a good chance he'll have come up with a way to counter my strategy? Should I change up or not? And that's a tough thing for Life because it's hard to change from something that works. But will it work again? I don't know.
Now, they played on this map in their first contest yesterday, and I do remember a little bit how it went. Life basically closed out Zest pretty fast. I think I remember Zest going for a relatively fast third, Life getting some Lings out to cancel it, and then Life just followed it up with a nice Zergling Hydralisk push, and he was actually teching a lot behind it and going up to Hive, getting ready to transition, but his push ended up killing Zest. So my question this game is, how fast is Zest going to take this third base? Is he going to do some sort of 2-base timing attack, which is kind of difficult to get away with on this map? And what is Life going to do to kind of prepare for whatever Zest is going to throw at him?
You know, this is such a poor map for 2-base timings. Maybe there are some like Sentry Zealot shenanigans, and we actually saw, I think Zest did that. It was against TLO. Zest actually beat, he actually did really well against TLO. Of course, he took him out. And on this map in particular, he did some Sentry Zealot shenanigans. Or Phoenix Zealot, excuse me. You're really taking advantage of the fact that this zone right here, it's a little bit harder for the Zerg to defend from the Phoenixes. You have to get additional Spore Cores, and if you cut off reinforcements, your Zealots can attack whichever base is weaker. But, I mean, Life's build is so crisp at the beginning, I don't know if you really want to go aggression. This is one of the worst maps to do 2-base aggression on as a Protoss. And Life is so precise with his unit control early on. I don't think that's really what Zest is going to want to try to do against him. And this same open ground that we said can sometimes work for a Phoenix Zealot play early on. This is exactly the ground, the area that Life used against Zest when he did that Hydra attack, right? Zest was forced to come out and find this open area, and the Hydra surround was just perfect from Life's point of view. So, I mean, Zest is doing the exact same opening. He's pretty much done in every single PvZ we've seen. Clearly a practice build. We're going to see, 3 gateways being put down next, and then the Robo. In fact, there looks like there goes the gateways right now. 1, 2. So I guess the question is, how is he going to change this up? Because it obviously, it had that timing weakness that Life exploited.
I mean, I don't see him like. There's still room for him to try to go for that fast third, but of course Life is going to be on top of it. There's the Robo on the way from Zest, and it's all about when can Zest take that third base and feel safe about it. When can he feel comfortable to deal with those Lings? When can he feel comfortable to deal with that Ling Hydra timing attack that generally happens a little bit later on? Is he going to wait for a Colossus before he goes and tries to take that third base? Because every second he delays his third, he's playing against Life. So in the back of his mind, he's like, okay, my opponent is droning up. My opponent doesn't mess around. If I let him get any sort of macro lead, things can turn out a little bit nasty as the game moves forward. So Zest is getting close to having to make that decision of, the timing of that third base and deciding exactly what he wants to do here.
So far, it looks to be almost the exact same timing he was trying yesterday. Maybe, you know, it's one of those things where even though he lost to life yesterday, this is the way he plays PvZ. It works for him most of the time. And are you really going to change what you've practiced, you know, spent so much time practicing just in one day? That's very hard to do for a player at these levels. Like, they want to, you know, they want to make sure that they've definitely executed the build thousands of times, or at least hundreds, before they really put into play to pro level. So far, we've seen very similar things that we did see yesterday, but he's actually getting more damage done against Life with these Phoenixes than he was able to do in the previous games. I mean, he was always able to get a lot of damage in Zest and Phoenixes, but he wasn't able to get the Queens before. Life was a little more on top of keeping those protected, so things are looking a little better for Zest than they were yesterday. And actually, I think he's getting Colossus. I think he's getting his Colossus tech slightly faster than he did the other day, maybe.
Definitely a rush for a Colossus. Going to get that out, and then I think the Nexus is going to come very soon from him.
Yes.
So he's getting this Nexus, and then if Life wants to be aggressive towards this, like, there's basically a timing right now before the Colossus gets out where Life can deny this third. But once that Colossus gets out, it's going to get much more difficult, especially considering the composition that Life is going for. Hydras and Zerglings melt away to Colossi, so this is going to come down to Micro. Makes a lot of sense. Life going for the same exact timing he went for in the last game. He's got +1 missile about to finish. He's got a bunch of Lings and Hydras on the way. He's looking to deny that third base.
You know, Zest is doing a good job of keeping track of how much Life is reinforcing this attack. Now, the question is, the Colossus isn't out. Actually, no, one Colossus is out, and he has a lot of Zealots, too, actually. With 8 Zealots and a Colossus, I think he can take
this.
He
knows about this. Remember, he dealt with this yesterday. Great force fields here from Zest. The Time Warp going down as well. This looks like a perfect engagement so far for the Protoss player. Life turning around, caught completely off guard, broadsided by this Colossus, and Zest is going to be super happy with how that engagement went.
Oh, man, and that's actually huge. When your opponent makes that many Hydras early and is unable to get any damage done with them, just trading for Zealots and 1 Phoenix. I mean, maybe, he's not even get the Nexus cancel either, and take a definitive loss in that trade. You can see units lost here. And, you know, honestly, in the previous game, Zest did have, I think, the first Colossus just came out. But the big difference is he only had like 2 to 3 Zealots with it. And so versus that many Hydra lists, they can kind of get a good angle, and you're not going to be able to, like, even with force fields, there's too much space, you're going to find a hole. But in this time, he had 8 Zealots. And that's enough Zealots that the Hydras can't just dive the Colossi. You're going to take too much damage to the Zealots. The Zealots tank too well. And it was just like, he definitely knew this time he was coming and built the perfect unit composition to stop it.
Link run by into the main base. It looks like about 12 are going to squeeze on by before Zealot is warped in and stop that. But there's already 3 Zealots in the main base there from Zest, so he's going to be just fine. So from here, Life's Hive is already almost done. It's not like that attack that he went for was all in. It's not like he didn't have a backup plan. So it looks like he's going to go for Vipers. So Roach, Hydra, Viper composition going to be very important to snipe away those Colossi, abduct those guys forward, to let your Roaches and Hydras get that damage done. Of course, mitigate those force fields is going to be very important. But remember, Zest, he has his third base up. He's had it up. He has the resources. He has the gas now to go for that Templar. And I think, his High Templar Archive is about to
moments
finish.
from completion. And
so his timings are perfect right now.
And, you know, this is a situation where Life's not dead, but ideally, Life would be maxed right now. Like, normally, this is a very strong Zerg push, a Roach Hydra Viper push. You hit right when you get 2-3 Vipers to abduct those Colossi, which would be right about now. He just got the Vipers out. They're getting their energy, so we can move out right now. But the problem is that all these units he lost in the earlier engagement aren't going to be with him for this attack. So instead of being 200 to 135, 140 supply, maybe he'll hit 200 supply, but it'll all be in units that are reinforcing, and they're not going to be there for that initial attack. And the longer he waits, like you mentioned, there's Templar coming out, 6 more gateways are finishing, so Zest is going to really start cranking out a ton of gateway units. And if he gets enough of those, I mean, if you duck that Colossi, they do enough damage, the gateway units can really finish off the Zerg.
Yeah, I don't know about this timing.
Oh, and he sees it coming.
He's going to try to make it
work.
Oh,
he sees the Vipers too. Look at this. The Observer sees everything.
Okay.
So he's going to know how to position his army.
Yeah, the objective is going to be feed back those Vipers with the High Templar. He's already positioning his High Templar there on the high ground. Remember, Storm is done. So these High Templars just waiting for enough energy, the Viper's poking forward, and as Life sees this composition, what's going through his mind?
He knows the only way he can possibly win this engagement is if he abducts the Colossi, and honestly, against this Protoss army, I don't even think he can engage it. We're going to see, he kind of has to, he's going to go in for it.
Remember, Storm is done. There are the Storms onto the Zerg army. The Colossi doing so much damage. Zest with another brilliant engagement. Not the best trades here from Life. The Zealots charging up front to try to absorb some of that damage from the Zerg army, while the Colossi and the High Templar do additional damage from the back. Life still has those Vipers alive, so looking for the abducts, going down. Nice, grabbing 2 of those Colossi, that's perfect, but a Storm going down, and Zest still has a lot of those expensive units up, so while Life was able to pick off some Colossi there, Zest is still going to be very happy with how this engagement is
and Life lost both his Vipers as well, so and a lot of Zerg units being pieced apart here. I mean, Life is still a little bit ahead in supply, but it can be deceiving. He lost his very valuable units, whereas Zest, you know, he still has an Archon, he still has 2 Colossi, and also bear in mind, economically speaking, Life doesn't have the insane Zerg economy. He's slightly ahead of Zest in economy, but it's not by that much, and his army composition is still pretty much just roaches at the moment.
Looks like he's sneaking up to that 4th base, just going to check on the progress of that, which is a great decision.
This is a pretty good map to make roaches work on, even as the game goes later. Normally, roaches become more and more worthless as the game drags on, but on Derelict Watcher, roaches do have the advantage that it's very open. So force fields are harder to harder to zone those roaches out, and small hit squads of roaches can really make it hard for Protoss to get a 4th base up.
Roaches checking on that 4th, sending one of them forward. I don't think Life has Burrow. Looks like some Zealots swinging around this side too. So we're about to approach the part of the game where these guys are spreading out to 4 bases. Oh, and a nice Nexus taken there at the bottom right.
I actually like that better than this location, honestly.
Yeah, so we're going to see a lot of multi-pronged harassment. We got Zealots going to the base on the left-hand side. We got a squad of roaches looking everywhere. But the basic idea here going to be distract your opponent, go after your opponent's economy while continuing to supplement your main army and looking for those offensive bases.
The Queen's going to go down, so that's something, but not, you know, I mean, it's mostly just buying time because, of course, the more time that goes by, the better it looks for Zest. His unit composition is being stronger and stronger, adding in Void Rays, teching to Dark Templar. Life is trying to get Corruptors out, but as Zest adds in Void Rays, that's really going to help counter the Corruptors, and Life is kind of forced into Corruptors, as Zerg never wants to really make Corruptors. They're not a very cost-efficient unit. But he's forced into it because in that last engagement, you could see Life was trying to posture the Vipers to get in there, but for the majority of that engagement, the Templar were always in position to zone them out. And so he's saying, maybe the Vipers don't work, I have to go to Corruptors.
Zest marching forward, Time War going down, Life doesn't want to engage just yet, kiting away from those Zealots, trying to get some free damage. But that is a scary Protoss army, and I don't think that's something Life wants to engage directly. Gotta be careful. I mean, so many Colossi. I don't see how Life can take this fight right now.
What he's doing is he's looking for a position where he can abduct a Colossi or 2 and then grab those and run. He doesn't, you know, he just wants to get a small trade-off. But he did get the Colossi, but it wasn't expensive. Pretty much his entire ground force. But here comes in more Zerg. A lot of Corruptors in field here. Now he does have 21 Roaches on route, so if you can take out all the Colossi and all the air units with the Corruptors, the Roaches may be enough to defend.
He's got to be careful. I mean, he doesn't want to make too many Corruptors. That can be a pretty drastic mistake. Does have 12 Corruptors at the moment. Only 2 Colossi on the field. Life coming forward. Doesn't have as many Roaches as he necessarily want. Nice storms there on the Roaches as well. Storms going down on the Colossi. And Zest, again, another great engagement for him. Everything that Life is throwing at Zest, Zest is just pushing back and making these engagements work.
Yeah, Zest just has a better army composition here. I mean, Roaches are not going to hold up in the late game against the Protoss Death Bowl. Life, of course, he never had the full economy to maybe make that Swarm Host tech switch, or he never had the super big gas tank to make the muted tech switch. Didn't feel confident going for Broodlord, so he's stuck with just Roaches, and Zest knows exactly how to play against a player stuck on Roaches.
And there's the GG from Life. Wow, what a nice, methodical, just very solid PvZ there from Life. Like, that was a game based on reacting to the way your opponent plays. He definitely identified how the game went yesterday on Derelict Watcher. He knew Life would go for that Ling Hydra attack, and then he timed those Colossi perfectly to pop out, made those extra gateway units. And from there, once he got that great trade, his 3rd is protected, he can just feel so comfortable. He's got those 6 gases, and Life kept trying to mess up with the method, mess up with the gears of what Zest was doing, but it just didn't work out.
You know, that attack Life did, it's, you know, you made the point, he's teching behind it, so it's not a super all-in.
Right.
But he is sacrificing the ability to get the 4th base really droned up to go for that attack. And so, you know, he still played out the game. He still had a lot of opportunities. And for example, if in that first engagement with the Vipers, if he instantly right off the bat got 4 abducts off on a Colossi, he might have won the game. So, but it wasn't a situation where he was one who was behind. He had to make a great move, and every single time he tried to make a great move, Zest was there to parry it and maintain his advantage.
He had every counter in place. Like when the Vipers came forward, guess what? They're High Templar. Not only High Templar, the High Templar had Storm already.
Yes.
So Zest was always one step ahead. So guys, Zest up 1-0 in this best of 3 to decide who stays alive in IEM New York City and who's going home. home. Life needs to win 2 in a row. Game 2 coming up.